handle the truth.
Hey guys, how are you? I'm Jim Price, the Jim Price Show Daily Update. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Ooh, the government told me what the date was, so I can't question them at all. They're good to us. Thanks, government. You're the best. We're going to call it April 1st. It is New Year's Day. Welcome, everybody, to a new year. That is absolutely correct. Now, the sad part of it is that this is the calendar that there are parts of the world that still work within this government framework. Yeah, but what do I know? So, actually, it's supposed to start Humanity's real calendar is April 1st, and that's the first month of the year. That's why April 1st is called Fool's Day, because they fooled us. They actually would call people that would celebrate that old day fools, because it was April. They moved it to December, and so now, or January 1, December 31st, and so that's what they've done to change the calendar, to manipulate us, to keep us off balance. Guys, I do believe that there's a greater spiritual weapon involved in why it is that our time gets changed and why our calendars have been manipulated to fit their needs. It is not accidental. It's not like something they did on a Thursday and then didn't realize it wasn't going to work on a Friday. That is absolutely not how that works. So anyway, let me see here. I guess I need to go ahead. I don't know if my chat is pulling up everything again. I got to go back over here in a second. Let's see here. Chat. Okay, here we go. There we go. All right. Good to see everybody. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. So anyway, as we continue on in this whole thing, I named today's episode More Judges, because it seems like the more judges that get involved, the more it gets worse, right? Well, today we had a Supreme Court hearing that was actually a very large precedence, that the President of the United States actually showed up to listen to arguments on exactly what was going on what was happening, and I was actually, fairly impressed with it. But now listen, that's a big deal. Trump going to the event or to the thing this morning, big thing, right? That's a big part of the things that are going on around us. But what I'm pointing out to you is that this whole idea that this birthright citizenship, the arguments that they were putting out for that to be real were absolutely breathtaking. I watched part of it live, and I know that you guys think that I'm picking on Kanji, wherever her name is, Lisa Rice, or not Rice, so what's her name? Condra something or other. Kadanji. Well, she made an ass of herself. Jackson did not do a good job. But anyway, let's go back through a little bit of the news of the day. Well, the very first one, we're just going to go with old Katanji. Is that how you say it? Ketanji? Katanji? So anyway, well, she put her foot in it, and not in a good way. Far-left Supreme Court justice left many Americans scratching their head after offering a brazen analogy involving stealing a wallet in Japan. Now, guys, I read this already, and I already kind of know where they were going with this whole thing, but I'm going to tell you right now, this is breathtaking. This is a part of, remember this show yesterday when I was talking about that these people just do this for sport? They're not hunting down laws. They're not hunting down situations in lives that need to be remedied and fixed. They're just hunting for sport. So this is what Jackson decides that she's going to come up with. She thinks this makes her sound like some articulate, brilliant, thought, or what, I don't know. What do we want to say? Like, she's not a philosopher, but just one of the biggest brains of our era, right? It was, woo. During oral arguments in the landmark case tied to Donald Trump's executive order for birthright citizen, which again, birthright citizen does not mean just because you got puked out here doesn't mean you're a citizen. That doesn't work that way. And it was also part of the idea was it was actually being compassionate for those soldiers and those people that were a part of the slavery, whites, Hispanics, Asians, black. By the way, guys, blacks did not have the corner on the market for slavery at that time. They're not, guys, listen. The Chinese were brought in as slaves for the railroad. Why aren't we talking about giving them reparations for the railroads that we have today? They didn't have any exclusive rights to anything. But what happened is that it was given compassion for those soldiers and those families who did get themselves caught here in the middle of a lot of this and was a part of the war, and they had their families here and this and that, and they're like, hey, you could be citizens. But I do believe, and I don't think this has actually been talked about, but this is the Jim Price version. Everything I'm saying is made up. I only play a doctor on television. I have no idea what I'm doing. But I do wonder, when you think about when they said that if you were on this soil, if you were born on this soil, you get naturalized citizenship, I wonder if that was a way to work around that, the fact that the Confederate states, the Union states of the South, decided to secede from America. And I'm wondering if there wasn't somewhat of a liberal, a precedence for that. Hey, Brenda, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And so that's kind of an idea that I'm wondering about. Let me do that in Gronk real quick. I want to ask that question to Gronk and let it think about it while I'm doing this here. Was part of the 14th Amendment actually an argument to say that those people that had seceded from the Union of America or the United States, that because they became the Confederated States, so the Confederated States then need that written in as part of the birthright of things, is that if you were born here, you're a citizen here. I wonder if some of that language wasn't bent to actually make sure that the southern states were actually included as citizens in America. Look that up and see what court cases and other precedents that have actually talked about how the South was not part of America anymore, but yet was brought back in under the fold. Anyway, so that's what I do with Gronk, and if you guys, that's my thing on Gronk. I don't do a big thing on it, but I do work on trying to get that to do some research for me. Get out there and kind of lay its claws out there and get going. You certainly don't have any idea what you're talking about. Well, Tim, thank you. I appreciate that. I didn't say I did. I said I had a question. So I don't know. Do you have an answer, Tim? If you have an answer to whatever it is you said I don't know I'm talking about, please fill me in. And then the rest of us will be well educated in exactly what it is you're talking about. So I like having information brought to me. I love it. I think it's great. So if you want to educate me, just bring it on. So let's go back to DeKanji here. So she goes, she says that alliance under the 14th Amendment uses a hypothetical crime committed abroad. So this is where we start seeing the fact that, like we talked about, this is a sport. Politics is a sport for them. Laws are a sport. They're not about, just getting in and getting out. It's about manipulating, using just to see what you can get away with. So moving on. In the exchange occurred during a discussion of the 14th Amendment and the definition of being subject to jurisdiction of the United States. In the warped world of radical left, being subject to criminal prosecution is now the same thing as alliance required for birthright citizen. So what they're saying now is that because illegal aliens have come in here and they have committed crimes of rape and murder and robbery and assault and all these other things, because they have that says that they have now got jurisdiction to stay here. They have an alliance because they are now criminals in America. So that gives them, this is where I'm going with this. Hey, good afternoon, Karen. Good to see you. Jackson laid out a convoluted hypothetical involving a trip to Japan. Her argument: if she steals a wallet in Tokyo and gets arrested, she is suddenly owing alliance to the Japanese sovereign. That doesn't. You don't own an alliance to a country because you happen to commit a crime while you were there. If I'm driving in London and I break a traffic law Now I'm a citizen of, I owe them an alliance because I broke one of their traffic laws? If I steal someone's wallet in Japan, the Japanese authority can arrest me and prosecute me. It's alliance, meaning can they control you as a matter of law? So there's this relationship based on, even though I am a temporary traveler, I'm still locally owing alliance in that sense. Okay, so every time I go to another country, I am now a citizen of that country. If I commit a crime, I own an alliance, I own an allegiance to this. Is that what we're doing now? I pledge allegiance to the flag of Japan and what? This is where it gets breathtaking in here. Tim Stout, where are you at, buddy? Let's get you. I thought we were going to debate a point here. I guess he gave up and went home. So he took his ball. Where you at, Tim? You gotta fill me in, buddy. I gotta get better educated, and if you're the guy to do it, let's do this thing. So let's get back to her statements here, okay? Cecilia Wong, an attorney for the far-left ACLU, was quick to jump on the bandwagon, replying, "That's absolutely right, Justice Jackson." The American people are tired of these Ivy League word games, alliances earned through loyalty and legal process, not committing petty theft in a foreign land. Jackson's wallet theory isn't just bizarre, but it's an insult to every legal citizen who actually knows what it means to owe an alliance to the United States of America. See, this is where we get this. It just spins around and around. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, why is this like? But again, they don't do it for an end. They're not doing it for an end. They're doing it for sport. There is no filling the life of filling up a life that has been emptied by injustice. There's not filling up a cup or doing anything. They're not trying to fill a void or make the world a better place. They're just doing it just for something to do. And that right there in itself is really scary. That's why I keep coming back to that point, is that I want everybody to think about what that really means when you see all this going on. So, all right, Solicitor General John Sauer drops a major truth nuke on liberal Justice Kagan as she tries to educate him on birthright citizenship. So we do have audio for that. I'm not going to try to read it, but let's go ahead and we're going to listen to these guys go back and forth here. So, all right. So this is the audio I have here. Justice Kagan tried to spin Solicitor General Sauer into a corner during an argument over birthright citizenship, suggesting the challenger's position relied on some theory rather than the plain text. Sauer dismantled that by going straight to the source. All right, so let's listen in here.
Sauer, that what you just said suggests that you can't be arguing in the way Justice Alito suggests, because most of your brief is not about illegal aliens. Most of your brief is about people who are just temporarily in the country, where there was quite clearly an experience of, an understanding of, that there were going to be temporary inhabitants. And your whole theory of the case is built on that group. You don't get to talking about undocumented persons until quite later and at much lesser, I think it's like 10 pages to 3 pages or something like that. So you can't really be going with Justice Alito's theory. You must be saying that there is a principle that developed, that was there at the time of the 14th Amendment. Isn't that right?
We agree there's a principle there at the 14th Amendment. It is the jurisdiction means allegiance, the allegiance of a and this is very strongly reflected in the 19th century sources, the allegiance of an alien president in another country is determined by domicile. And that goes back to the Venus and the Pizarro. It goes through the Katza affair in 1853. It comes right up to Fong Yui Ting and Lau Ao-bu that are decided shortly before Wong Kim Ark. So that's the principle. That principle clearly applies here. I also respectfully disagree with that.
And I guess, Mr. General Sauer, where does this principle come from? Allegiance, domicile, allegiance, I think you point to a Lincoln funeral speech as your primary example of where this principle comes from. It's certainly not what we think of when we think of the word jurisdiction, and I appreciate that jurisdiction has many meanings, but the first meaning is like if you're subject to jurisdiction, you're subject to the authority of. One doesn't say, what that means is a certain kind of allegiance that domiciliaries have and nobody else does. So the text of the clause, I think, does not support you. I think you're sort of looking for some more technical, esoteric meaning. And then the question comes, okay, if the text doesn't support you, if there's a real history of people using it that way, but as far as I can tell, at the time of the 14th, you're using some pretty obscure sources to get to this concept.
Well, take it straight from the framers' mouths. So, for example, Senator Trumbull was asked, what does jurisdiction mean? He means subject to the jurisdiction. He said, what does that mean? He says it means not owing allegiance to anybody else. He is the principal framer of the Civil Rights Act of 1866. Representative Bigham, who's the framer of the 14th Amendment, is asked, what does it mean in the congressional record at page 1291? He says, within the jurisdiction of the United States of parents not owing allegiance to any foreign sovereignty. And we've cited many, many examples where the congressional debates reflect that. Then you referred to the oration of George Bancroft. That's one of probably 16 sources, but there's at least 13, counting that one in the 12 treatises we cite at pages 26 to 28 of our brief. There is over a dozen sources that specifically address temporary sojourners. In the 5 decades after the enactment of the amendment, every single one of them says, well, temporary sojourners, their children are not included, including for 2 decades after Wong Kim Ark.
Wow. So I do apologize for Sauer's voice. It is a lot like Kennedy's in a way that it is hard to understand him, but just wanted to give you guys that this is where we're going. Like, this guy is trying to keep what is a Supreme Court justice on task. Now, guys, when we talked yesterday, we said, what makes you a judge? Nothing. There is no special training. There's no special etiquette. There are no boundaries. There are no balls or strikes. There is nobody critiquing you, making sure you are staying. There's no bounce back. There is no recourse that you have to go out and find another judge that's willing to take on the case, that you can sue another judge, which is impossible because they're the same people. Guys, this is where judges are not special. They're not cool. I don't know what we've got to do to get people to understand that we really hate lawyers, but then for some reason we forget that when we think we need the lawyers. Do you follow what I'm saying? Like, that's the part where I just don't think that we really take it into consideration. Like, these judges are just freaking dumbass people at Quick Trip, Wawa, Piggly Wiggly, Kroger's, wherever you go, H-E-B, wherever you go. They're just people. Judges are just people. Cops are just people. But for some reason, they think that there's somehow that it's okay. They could just make up whatever they want. They could do whatever they want. It's just great. And I don't understand that. If someone were to make me a judge and they said, Jim, I want you to be a judge, my gosh, I would just take that so serious. I mean, it would be, listen, I'm going to call the defense out on their bad behavior and what they're doing wrong, and I'm going to call out the prosecutor on what they're doing and wrong. And I'm going to take the balls and strikes. I'm going to take and look at everything equally, and I'm not going to play friends because it's necessary to get it right. We're playing with people's lives. Why can't we understand that judges are out there playing with people's lives wild and loose because they feel like it, that they feel like their team has to win? But see, for them, it's a blood sport. It is a team sport. But for us, it's life. It makes a goddamn difference. These people can't see it that way. They don't understand it that way. They don't think it's a problem. You're the problem because you think that there is a problem. and on we go. Well, Ken Reesing yesterday, he was chatting us up on the Kristi Noem husband pictures where he's dressed in a bunch of weirdo pictures and different things like that. And again, guys, I don't care. I don't care what the guy does. I don't care. I don't care if Kristi straps it on or he straps it on or they run around in jelly and put peanut butter on their head. I don't care. I don't care. But he said he's going to address it soon, so whatever. But he said there was some cross-dressing stuff, and there was something about Kristi Noem and some other. It's like, guys, come on. Just leave the personal stuff alone. I mean, really. I really don't care if you're screwing somebody. I don't care who you're having sex with. I don't care what you wear when you're having sex. I don't care when you have sex. I don't want to know. Just go do it. Hey, I had sex. Cool. High five. Move on. That's it. But some people really think they need to be in people's business this way. Oh, I got to find out why that dude was wearing tits. Why she was wearing a strap-on. Why were they doing that? I don't know if I was supposed to use that word or not, but that's the problem with this whole thing, right? Why do we care so much about what other people are doing in their bedrooms? And why do people who are doing things in their bedroom think that the world needs to know with a flag or a slogan or a hair dye or a septum piercing or weird stuff that they do to their bodies? See, this is the problem, though. LGBTYQX9Z, that's all personal shit. I don't care. I don't care. We don't make laws about things like that unless you start wanting to touch things. And then we have laws about that. And we've had to make laws in certain states, in certain parts of the country, that boys go into boys' rooms and girls go into girls' rooms according to your XX or XY chromosome. But my problem is that we can't even have that conversation because it's all wrapped up in what they do in their bedroom. But I don't care what people do in their personal business, and you shouldn't either. I don't get that. For the life of me, I'm trying to figure this out, why it is that we care about Melania's underwear. Or whether Trump had sex with somebody 20 years ago. Why do we care? Consensual sex is consensual sex, whether you pay for it or not. And if you ask the math, if a guy takes somebody out on a date and he's paying for the dinner and the movie and the roller skating and all the other stuff, and then they have sex, did he just pay for that sex? Because she liked the experience, so she gave him sex? Is that... See, the problem is we can't even have conversations because it gets so convoluted and gets so wrapped up and everybody wants to be offended. This is what the political correctness did to all of us. This is where we have failed. This is where we got it wrong. We didn't do it right. We let that political correctness slip in during Uncle Barry's tenure when he was hanging around, playing a little b-ball, man, having a beer with the plumber. You guys remember the plumber thing? It's all staged, all bullshit. Hey, Terrence Williams, good to see you. And I'm just kind of going around and around a little bit here on some of this stuff, and I apologize. I didn't mean to get all too vulgar there, but my point of it is that we have so much in front of us that is giving us answers, but yet I don't know if we're actually paying attention to them the way we should. We're getting involved in the fight when we just stand over and go, no. The answer is no. Go do that. You go onto your property and go do your thing with whoever you do it with, and I don't need to know what you do. I don't care. I don't care if you dress up like whatever. I don't care if you do whatever. I don't care if you cut your thing off. Over 18, I don't care what you do, bro. And if you're not under that age, I really don't care. But some people have some boundaries with different things. So tobacco and other kind of uses and whether what's an adult and all that, I'm not going to get in that with you, okay? We're just going to go with what we know right now is 18. By the way, Nancy Pelosi says adulting starts at 21 because she's moved everything back. Do you guys know that you cannot buy a black marker, a black Sharpie without showing ID? To buy a lighter, you have to show ID that you're 21 years old. It's the same as the smoking laws now pertain to spray paint and other things as well. That was all done by Nancy Pelosi during COVID. Yeah, look it up, guys. Trump says he's considering getting out of NATO. I think he's been saying that over and over again to wear out the conversation so that when he finally says it, everybody's like, yeah, we didn't want to be in anyway. I think if you really got down honestly with everybody and they actually honestly ask, go to the polling places and actually, really get people to honestly answer, and they'll tell you they don't want to be a part of NATO. By the way, NATO was supposed to be disbanded when? When Russia, the USSR, the United States of the Soviet Republic, when that fell, Ukraine separated, all the little things. Well, they were supposed to, that was when NATO was supposed to go away. But we've always been spending billions and playing with this little game called NATO, and, well, what do I know? It's called the North Atlantic Trade Organization because we care. Oh, Brenda says it was weird. I went to the store and bought 2 Sharpies. It is real. It really is. I went to, was it Staples or Office Depot? Whoever's left now, I don't know. We used to have really cool, we used to have multiples of Office brand things. We could go find cool stuff. Now it's, anyway, I went in there to buy Sharpies for something. I don't know what I was buying them for. And I think it was like color Sharpies or something. I was doing a project of something, or I wanted to have color-coded something or other. And they're like, I need to see your ID. I'm like, for what? It's like, for the markers. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? So if you take a job at 18 years of age and you're in charge of ordering the office supplies for your company, are you allowed to buy Sharpies for your office because you have to be 21? I don't know, man. I mean, if you... yeah. All right, yeah, another Democrat killed another person in a Democrat, or another illegal killed somebody in a Democrat-ran city. Sorry, I said that all backwards. And then, do you want to hear the audio of Ketanji, or whatever her name is, Ketanji? What happened to that guy earlier? I haven't even heard of this guy, Tim Stout. How come he's not around? I thought he was all telling us about the price of fish in China. I thought he was going to help me out, educate me. I mean, I don't know. Let me go back to it again. You certainly don't have any idea what you're talking about. I don't know. I'm 2 episodes. By the way, this Friday's episode will be 1400. The 1,400 episode of the Jim Price Show, which I don't know what I'm talking about, according to Tim, is going to be this Friday. So I don't, what do I know? I mean, it's, gosh, I just wish I knew this. I mean, wish I could get educated. So, anyway. All right, let's see if we got a different audio here. So this is where Sawyer and Ketanji Brown got into it with, so this is, again, we're just, remember in the Supreme Court, it's audio only. There is no visual. That's why I'm just sitting here on camera listening with you guys, is because there is no visual. It is only audio. Here we go.
There's one simple sugar hack anyone can use to reset their...
Gotta wait for the commercial to go by. All right, here we go.
For example, social security numbers are generated based on the birth certificate. They say this can still be, for the vast majority of instances, completely transparent. You will still get a...
No, not transparent. I'm just talking about the particulars, because now you say your rule turns on whether the person intended to stay in the United States. And I think Justice Barrett brought this up. So are we bringing pregnant women in for depositions? What are we doing to figure this out?
No, as I pointed out earlier, the executive order turns on lawfulness of status. So if you give birth to a baby in the hospital right now, it gets the birth certificate in the system. There's a computer system.
So there's no opportunity, there's apparently no opportunity then for the person to prove or to say that they actually intended to stay in the United States.
Absolutely not. The opposite is true. Their opportunity to dispute if they think they were wrongly denied, which would only happen in a tiny minority of cases,
After the
is
fact.
directly addressing that guidance.
After the fact,
Yes.
after their baby has been denied citizenship, then we can go through the process.
Yes, and the way that, I mean, I'm summarizing because I'm not an expert in computers, but there's a computer program that currently automatically generates a social security number. SSA says, look, a social security number, non-citizens can have them if they have work authorization, so it doesn't prove citizenship. We'll give you a social security number, provided that the system automatically checks the immigration status of the parents, which there are robust databases for, and then it appears no different to the vast majority of birthing parents.
Thank you.
Thank you, counsel.
Okay, so I know that sounds like it went around and around, but the problem with it is that this is where this Ketanji Brown, she puts enough shade into the conversation that it will actually just really, like, this is what's going to cause a problem in the future. I guarantee you that she was given those asks for a certain reason. She was told, do these asks. Ask him this, ask him that. And then what happens is it's going to cause the interpretation or the empowerment of the decision, it's going to be tainted because she kept going around and around with this whole idea of all these other things. And so, again, she is the bad apple that will ruin the whole cart, the whole apple cart. I just don't understand why we live with these people like this. Radical ACLU attorney receives pushback by Justice Kagan and Alito after claiming domicile has never mattered for. So in other words, do you have a house? Do you even have like an address? Do you even have a place of residency? And so let's listen to this here, this argument here, because this is the ACLU who's saying, see, the ACLU is saying, no, we want everybody to be citizens. Then you just come over here, puke a baby. Everybody's a citizen. You get one, and we get one, and they get one, and I'll get one. All right.
There's one simple
Sorry, I got to wait for this commercial to go away. And there,
and the children born to temporary visitors in the territory of the sovereign were always considered birthright citizens.
Well, Ms. Wong, I mean, everything you say strikes me as, yeah, that's the way I read it too. But then what are those 20 domicile words doing there? Like, you can, take some of them and say, they were just summarizing the facts of the case, but not all of them. And why did they keep on, why did they sprinkle that in the opinion?
Well, I think, again, those were the stipulated facts in the case. And it's clear we have textual evidence in the majority opinion that they were simply saying this is an a fortiori application of that controlling rule that comes from the English common law.
I don't know if you heard that officiary, that word that she used there, officiary. Again, this is where, listen, guys, if they do not use words that you understand, they're doing this to confuse and derail the original intent. I am not stupid. I know I can do the same thing. I can use a lot of crazy words and do a lot of stupid shit. And then it ends up not being worth listening to. But I want you to listen to where this Cecilia, she put that little word in there to make it sound like she's really churching it up there, Joe Dirt. So anyway, here we go.
Justice Gray writes, again, after setting out the English common law rule and the exceptions, with the single additional exception for children of members of Indian tribes, that the amendment in clear words and manifest intent includes the children born within the territory of the United States of all other persons of whatever race or color domiciled within the United States. And
so if you were on vacation at the U.S. Virgin Islands or one of our territories, would you then just become an American citizen because you were born on the territories of America? Is that also how that works? So we have territories all over the country or all over the world. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but there's a lot of places that we have territories. So if you go on to a territory that may be considered to be an embassy or somewhere other, and you give birth to a child in the embassy of America, are you now considered to be an American citizen because you gave birth on the property of the embassy? I'm asking a question. I mean, this is the questions I'm asking because when we don't start really having these, like, is everything everything? We get to just do whatever. That's cool. So again, these people. But all right, let's continue on with this lady here.
Pointed out earlier, the very next part of that same paragraph, he cites to Webster talking about Thrasher's case, and he says, people who are born in this country owe allegiance independently of a residence within, foreign nationals owe allegiance independently of a residence with intention to continue such residence, independently of any domiciliation, and independently of taking any oath of allegiance, which is totally contrary to both the government's theory of dual allegiance or partial allegiance and to the theory of domiciliation.
I mean, I would...
Domiciliation. Guys, can we not just use the word housing or residence? Domiciliation. Domiciliation. Hey, Randall Rhodes, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, Randall, this is a great evening. It's my time for the hospital check-in. What's going on there, Randall? Let us know. We'll chat it up here on the show, but let us know what's going on with you, and we'll get back. We'll see what we can help you with. All right, so let's keep going. Remember, we're doing domiciliation. That's the password is domiciliation. If you have anybody in your life up to today that has said the word domiciliation, I want you to write that person's name in the comments and just put domiciliation. I want to see how you guys spell domiciliation too, by the way, because this is all very, but guys, this is also going back to like dossier and quid pro quo. Oh, it's like, I am amazed at the fancy definitions of words and things that they come up with that have nothing to do. It's like, oh, you mean a this for that? You mean bribery? You mean, but this is what we do, guys, right? We got to make it. We got to make it this way. That's what we do. Charles Johnson. So do we still have territories if we withdraw all of our troops from policing the world? Charles, I don't know. I mean, the thing is that the problem is the territories, depending on how they're assigned to us. See, the way that an embassy works is that is actually considered to be sovereign land of America. So if you go to an embassy in Germany, China, I don't know, do we have Chinese embassies? Do we have embassies in China? I think we do, don't we? Anyway, if you get to an embassy in China or in Russia or, I don't know, where do we have embassies? Everywhere, right? Brazil, you go to, on that dirt is considered to be American soil. That's why they fly the American flag there. That's why it's a whole thing. And that's considered to be like it's supposed to show like, hey, we're cool with you. We're cool with, they're cool with us. We don't do bad things to each other because we've given them a little piece of dirt in our own country. And now that there have been a lot of rumors and going around, and I'm going to expand this for a second, but the UN supposedly has sovereign land in America and in several installations across America, that we have actually given the UN sovereign land, means that they're not bound by jurisdiction of our laws. So again, these are situations where I don't, but anyway, the domiciliation. All right, here we go. Randall, good to see you, Josephine. Thank you so much for being here. Randall, I have an adverse reaction to pain meds. I've been on for 13 years that I am stopping due to pain caused by 4 total knee replacements. Holy crap, Randall. Dude, get yourself 5 teaspoons of mineral salt per day and get on some methylfolate, 5,000 mcgs, and then get on a folated B12, 10,000 mcgs, and that will turn around for you. We'll talk, Randall. Message me. I'll send you the list. Anyway, Josephine, good to see you. Hello. I've been trying to make it each day. Domiciliation. They must have to use big words. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so if a baby's born on Chinese or Russian embassy land, they are now citizens of those countries. Yes, Randall. Now you're getting it. Now you guys are getting this. You're like, I love this. Like, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Randall. Good job, buddy. You and Josephine. Oh, obvious. I love it. Good stuff. And then again, like Charles was talking, we were talking about with Charles, right? He was saying, if we pull back all those things, but a lot of our military installations are either gifted to America or do have some type of jurisdiction with American authority. It's really weird. That gets into international law, UCC law, Universal Commercial Law. This is also maritime law. A lot of things that we do between countries are maritime law or Universal Commercial Code, like a UCC effect, where they are using a standardized group of laws to govern between each other. Anyway. All right, let's go back to let's go back to Cecilia Wong and what was it called? Domiciliation. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're spinning the wax tonight. That's right, domiciliation's coming your way. Here we go. I'm just kidding. It's just gonna be Cecilia.
I might agree with you if domicile had simply been sprinkled in the opinion. But in Wong Kim Ark, it's a long opinion, but it begins by saying, here's the question, and it ends by coming back to the question. And it says, here's the question, stated at the beginning of the opinion, namely, whether a child born in the United States of parents of Chinese descent who at the time of his birth are subjects of the Emperor of China, but have a permanent domicile and residence in the United States and are there carrying on business, and he states the diplomatic exception, and he says, for the reasons above stated, this court is of the opinion that the question must be answered in the affirmative. So why put domicile in? Sometimes it's hard to figure out what is the holding of the case. Here he tells us this is the holding of the case. Why put domicile in there? It's just something, it's something irrelevant that he wanted to throw in. It's like, whether a child born in the United States of parents of Chinese descent who once resided at a particular address in San Francisco, who attempted to enter the country at the port of San Francisco. Why put it in if it's irrelevant?
Well, Justice Alito, I'll give you two responses. The first is that, again, it was a stipulated fact. The second is that regardless of what the judgment in the case was, which again was an a fortiori application of the rule of decision, the rule of decision in Wong Kim Ark has binding precedential effect. Even if you think that Wong Kim Ark decided the case based on the stipulated facts, you have to follow that controlling rule of decision. And if you follow that rule, you get to the same result for people without domicile. Wong Kim Ark says 6 times in the first parts of the opinion, as well as on the page the government focuses on, that domicile is not relevant.
Well, Ms. Wong, on
Sure.
that, what do we do with the fact that after Wong Kim Ark, at least some authorities took the view that the non-domiciliary question wasn't decided, remained open, and even continued to press the view that domicile is required? Now, I know you've got a lot of good stuff on your side too, but what do we do with the fact that many sound legal authorities thought it remained an open question, even if one of them wasn't John Marshall Harlan?
I liked your example from Justice Harlan's lecture here in D.C. So here's what I would say. All of the government's citations in their brief generally either were rejected by Wong Kim Ark expressly if they predated Wong Kim Ark.
If we're trying to understand how the legal community understood what happened in Wong Kim Ark,
Sure.
It seems to me it's a mess.
So
maybe you can persuade me otherwise.
I think I can, Justice Gorsuch. First, as to the post-Wong Kim Ark authorities the government cites, each one of them is inconsistent.
Okay, well, I'm not going to go on and on about that with her, but gee, many Christmas, guys. This is why you feel like there is no real justice, and the idea that they say that, well, they write the law is complicated, that way people don't get away with things. Then why do police officers overcharge, hoping that the DA charges them with enough that something will stick? And if you can dispute that statement with me, if you can say that I'm wrong, then you haven't had any type of interaction with the judicial system. Because that is a common statement that people know that the police officers always overcharge. That way the DAs get something to stick. Their words, not mine. Now, again, it bothers me that we have people like her out there using, whatever, domiciliation. Golly, how hard do you have to work to make that like a word? Anyway, so let's go over here. That didn't work, right? Get down here. Where are we at? Okay. Stop moving. Okay, here we go. All right. So on The View, this was a thing today. When it comes to modern Overton window, when it comes to the modern Overton window, some topics are understandably thorny and difficult to broach. Repealing the 19th Amendment, that's going to be a tough sell. To right, or especially the left, no matter how often women disproportionately vote Democrat policies after their mental. Anyway, what are we doing here? Wait, let's get to the part where it's okay. Come on. Okay, so I guess they got into it today or yesterday about the this whole thing. Most people don't. Okay, what are we doing? I think it's really reckless to be suggesting that people should have more children when you know now in this country I'm sorry. Sorry, it's getting close to the end of the day. Word salad. Actually, good one, Josephine. Word salad of temptation to bend the Constitution and Pledge of Allegiance. Very good, Josephine. I like that. That's 2 for 2 on you there. Good job on you. All right, so let me get back to reading here. When I read other people's quotes is when I really seem to screw that. Let me just get back here. Let's get to the audio. Okay. Is this it here?
I don't even know how to explain this story, but I'm going to tell you what happened.
I'll let her do it. Okay.
The Conservative Political Action Conference, known as CPAC, wrapped up this weekend, and conservative activist Isabel Brown had a message for her fellow Gen Z women, who reportedly are the least likely group in America to get married and have kids. But I want you to see this clip.
If you're not encouraging your children to grow up and have the courage to get married and have kids, more kids than they can afford before they think they're ready, it is high time to start. It is these choices, like deleting our dating apps and quitting birth control pills and saying I do at the altar, that ultimately trickle down into the political policies that we will see save our country.
Okay. I just want to say, years ago, they used to come after women of color.
Oh, yeah.
And accuse women of color of doing this very thing.
Yeah.
And that's why they.
Yeah, we were making it bad because we said black people were having babies. What? Why does she get away with that? Why does Whoopi get to say things like that, but then, I get too close to a word or I say this or that, somehow I'm the evil person, but this lady gets to say that? She's just to make that up out of the blue? Oh, they were accusing black people of trying to pack the rolls with Democrat Party, having more black babies so they'll vote Democrat? When have we ever used that as anything, ever? Any of you guys? I guess I need to know. Anyway, here we go.
Continue to cut all these programs and erase all these things.
Yeah.
Childcare programs. Name it.
Yeah,
name it. And now,
we're cutting child care programs and we're losing billions, $9 billion in child daycare fraud in Minnesota alone. Whoopi, are you telling me we're not doing daycare? We're not taking care of kids? Because how did we blow through $9 billion in Minnesota alone with a bunch of fraudulent daycares, supposedly with kids with addresses and birth certificates? See, this is where they, and it takes too long to go back through their videos and get it right. But anyway, here we go.
Known that it turns out we are all just one group of women.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're just one group.
Yeah.
I mean, because
So my ultimate beef with this is that it wraps a woman's worth up in her ovaries.
Okay, guys, I can't do anymore. I'm sorry. You're getting the gist of what's going on here. If you somehow think that having more children has to do with politics, you're really sorely mistaken. But yes, If you can create your own team, you can actually have more kids and raise them in the way you want. Now, not all of my kids vote the way I want them. I don't know. I don't even ask them. That's none of my business. I mean, they know how I feel. Obviously, I've got the show, but I don't get involved in that. But yet, if you do want to build your own baseball team, then do it. Have sex and have babies till you got your own outfield, infield, and a backup pitcher. I don't care. But to now make it a political thing that now because someone once said, hey, you need to have more kids because if you want your ideology to move forward, that's how that actually works. It's just called math. Those that are there in the future get to do future shit, and then those of us that are in the past live in the past. But my children are having grandchildren, and my grandchildren don't have grandchildren, and that's how that works. But we can't have that conversation, can we? Because it's now be taken away by this kind of foolery. So anyway, guys, this is where I'm gonna cut her off today. I do appreciate everybody doing their part. Good stuff. Josephine Color. Oh, I know, Josephine. It's tough out there. So, all right, guys. By the way, this is going to be replayed later tonight on the radio in Panhandle of Florida and other places. And I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for having me be a part of your family. It has been a bit of an adventure for me, but we're going to be on WEAG 106.3 FM. That's in Florida, the WEAG 106 FM. I don't know who knows. Anyway, so good stuff out there. Thank you guys so much for bringing me on the radio out there. Thank you, everybody, for all your support and what it takes to put these things on. Guys, it's been great. I do talk about these things. I get a little sticky here and there, but I ask a lot of questions because I want to learn more. I want to be better about the world around me, and I want to learn and be better every single day, being better than the day before. That's what I do here on the Jim Price Show, and that's how we talk consistently. So all the fans out there on WEAG 106.3, thank you guys so much for being out there. TheJimPriceShow.com. TheJimPriceShow.com is my website. You can go to Facebook, Rumble, Twitter, Twitch, DLive, iTunes, Spotify. You go out there, you can find me anywhere, but you do have to put The Jim Price Show in all the way because a lot of those social media buddies out there, they don't like Jim Price the way they do others. So anyway, all right, guys, thank you so much for being here. Remember the 10% we do for our neighbor, community, city, county, state, the federal government. The more you do for them, the less they have to do for you. Learn how to be selfless and not so damn selfish. The world will be a far, far better place. Remember, hold the line, hold fast, do not give up, do not give in, we'll win. I promise I make promises I can't keep, guys. You've always been the answer out there. Remember that Constitution, that limits the government but never limits you. So know your power and understand who you are and where you belong. Quit playing small and quit giving your authority over to people who do not have authority over you. Authority is only given. It cannot be taken. That's called tyranny. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for everything you guys are doing. I'm Jim Price, the Jim Price Show Daily Update. You guys all be good to each other out there, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.